Picture this. You drift in orbit around a dying star. Its fading light flickers like a memory. Below, a Jupiter-sized world is torn apart by invisible forces. Space bends, time twists. You float in the silence of a place no human has ever been. Yet someone somewhere built what you're seeing. This isn't pure fiction. It's drawn from real theories, Dyson Spheres, stellar scale engineering, megastructures that could mark the presence of civilizations far beyond our own. In 1964, Nikolai Kardashev proposed a way to measure such civilizations, not by culture, but by the energy they command, planetary, stellar, galactic. Each step forces us to ask just how far intelligence can rise. Tonight, we climb that scale, from Earth's first sparks to the edge of the multiverse. Not predictions, possibilities. If you're ready to see where humanity truly stands, hit that like button. Let's begin. In 1964, Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev asked one question: how powerful can a civilization become if it continues advancing without limits? His answer came in the form of a scale, a simple idea that redefined our place in the universe. Kardashev's original focus was the cosmos, not philosophy. While analyzing strange radio signals from a distant source, he began thinking not just about what a signal might say, but how much energy it would take to send it. The more powerful the civilization, the greater its energy use. The more energy it used, the more dramatic its technological footprint. He defined three types. Type 1, a civilization that could harness all the energy available on its home planet: sunlight, wind, oceans, even the heat of its core. Type 2, a civilization that could harvest the entire output of its star. And Type 3, the most advanced on his original scale, one that draws its power from the stars of an entire galaxy. What made this idea extraordinary was how it simplified the unimaginable. It gave us a way to measure the invisible. Civilizations we've never met, stars we've never reached, all placed on a cosmic ladder built from watts. At first, this was seen as abstract, a thought experiment. But over time, the Kardashev scale became something more. A way to reflect on our own growth, a mirror held up to humanity, showing us how far we've come and how far we have left to go. Right now, we are not even on the first rung. Most estimates place us around 0.73. We are still reliant on fossil fuels, our global infrastructure is fragmented, and most of our energy use is inefficient. We can harness the atom, but not the Earth. We can launch probes into space, but we haven't mastered the climate of our own atmosphere. Still, the scale shows what is possible. With enough time, unity, and care, we could someday advance beyond our planet, beyond our sun, and eventually beyond our galaxy. For some, it's science fiction. For others, it's a long-term roadmap. And perhaps the most humbling part is this: if Kardashev's scale is correct, we may already be surrounded by civilizations far beyond us. We simply haven't known how to look. The Kardashev scale is not about conquest or superiority. It is about perspective, a way to think in centuries instead of years, in galaxies instead of borders, and in doing so, we begin to think a little more like the stars themselves. Despite our cities, networks, and satellites, humanity has not yet reached the first step. We are still a Type 0 civilization, drawing energy from fossil fuels and weather. We are not yet the masters of our own planet. Type 0 is not a classification of shame. It is a beginning, a reflection of where most intelligent civilizations may start, assuming they survive long enough to progress. At this level, energy comes from finite sources: coal, oil, gas, wood. Even our growing renewable technologies remain small, scale, and fragmented, limited by national grids and political boundaries. In a Type 0 world, power is unevenly distributed. Wealth and access are tied to location and history. Our species still experiences war, famine, and environmental collapse. Pandemics can spread across continents, and natural disasters still carry consequences we cannot fully control. But it is not all limitation. This stage also brings tools that could one day change everything. The internet, for example, allows knowledge to move faster than ever before. Satellites give us eyes beyond our atmosphere. Artificial intelligence is beginning to optimize how we use our resources, though imperfectly and unevenly. At this stage, we are like adolescents standing at the threshold of adulthood. We have power, but not wisdom. Technology, but not yet foresight. The power to terraform a world, and the equal power to destroy one. To become Type 1, we must stabilize. It requires mastering planetary, scale, energy production, solar, geothermal, wind, and fusion. But it also demands more than machines. It asks for global cooperation, resilience against disaster, and an entirely new relationship with nature. It means building systems that understand the Earth as a single, living engine. Not something to exploit, but something to manage and sustain. We must be able to prevent or predict earthquakes, stabilize the climate, purify oceans, and distribute energy cleanly to every human being. When those things are achieved, our classification will finally change. Physicist Michio Kaku believes we could become Type 1 within 100 to 200 years if we survive the risks ahead. But it will take vision, discipline, and unity on a scale we have never fully attempted. Some speculate that many civilizations may never make it past this phase, that the transition to Type 1 is the most dangerous of all. Misused technology, ecological collapse, and unchecked inequality can all become extinction events before the next step is ever reached. We are not a planetary civilization yet, but the potential is there, the tools are there, and each day, somewhere on this small blue planet, someone is building what might one day become the foundation of something far greater. The question is not if we can evolve, it is whether we will choose to. A Type 1 civilization controls every aspect of its home planet. Energy from volcanoes, storms, and sunlight is harnessed with perfect efficiency. Earth becomes a machine tuned for life and exploration. This level of civilization does not simply survive on its planet. It shapes it, understands it, and optimizes it. Hurricanes are not disasters, they are harvested for power. Earthquakes are not unpredictable, they are anticipated and redirected. Entire cities may float on oceans or orbit high above and near. Atmosphere stations, tethered to global energy networks that pulse with real-time precision. To reach this stage, humanity would have to master clean energy at scale. Fossil fuels would become a relic of a dangerous past. Solar satellites orbiting Earth could beam energy to the surface with pinpoint accuracy. Massive fusion reactors, mimicking the sun itself, would power regions without waste. Every square kilometer of the planet would be mapped, monitored, and balanced for sustainability. But energy alone is not enough. A Type 1 civilization must be unified, not politically, but technologically and ecologically. Every continent, every city, every biome becomes part of a global system, one that can reroute resources instantly, one that can adapt to crises before they unfold. Artificial intelligence plays a central role here, not as a replacement for human thought, but as a guide, orchestrating complexity beyond any one mind's ability to process. Imagine weather as a service, rain where it is needed, sunlight regulated to prevent drought, ocean currents redirected to stabilize global temperatures, crops grown vertically inside towers that feed cities, disease managed at the genetic level, aging slowed by design. This is not utopia. It is engineering, the result of systems built to protect and enhance life, not merely prolong it. Such a civilization would also be deeply connected through space. The moon would no longer be a distant orb, but a hub for energy storage or off-world manufacturing. Orbital elevators could rise from equatorial platforms, sending materials and passengers into orbit without rockets. Space becomes a suburb of Earth, not a frontier. Yet the greatest challenge on this path is not technical. It is philosophical. A Type 1 world cannot emerge through force. It must be chosen. Greed, division, and ignorance are the forces that halt this progress. The transition requires a shift in how we value cooperation, how we share knowledge, and how we protect both our environment and our species. Michio Kaku describes this moment as the adolescence of civilization. We have immense power, but no guarantees. We stand between greatness and collapse, and the window for transition is narrow. Becoming Type 1 is more than a milestone. It is the first time a species takes responsibility for an entire planet. The first time nature becomes a partner, not a threat. And when we reach that point, the stars will no longer feel distant. They will feel inevitable. The journey from Type 0 to Type 1 is filled with danger. Climate change, war, and artificial intelligence could destroy us before we ever leave the cradle. Most civilizations may never survive this phase. This stage is often described as a bottleneck, narrow, unstable, and unforgiving. The pressures of growth collide with the limits of wisdom. The tools that could save us can also be used to destroy us. Our power rises faster than our maturity. And so, civilizations may collapse not from lack of technology, but from using it without restraint. Climate change is one of the most immediate threats. As we burn through fossil fuels to power our ascent, we flood the atmosphere with carbon dioxide. The result is rising temperatures, melting ice, acidifying oceans, and more frequent ecological disasters. Entire species disappear. Crop yields drop. Sea levels climb slowly at first, then all at once. If left unchecked, this alone could derail our momentum for centuries, or end it altogether. War is another ever-present danger. As nations compete for dwindling resources, conflict becomes more likely. But unlike in the past, the weapons we now possess can destroy entire cities, ecosystems, even the planet's habitability. Nuclear arsenals, bioweapons, and cyber warfare threaten to fracture our civilization before we ever reach global unity. One miscalculation, one flash of arrogance, could send us back to the Stone Age. Then there is artificial intelligence, a technology that, in theory, could help us reach Type 1 faster, managing energy grids, optimizing transportation, predicting disasters. But without strict ethical and safety frameworks, AI could spiral out of control. Algorithms trained to pursue narrow goals could destabilize financial systems, manipulate societies, or worse. If unchecked, they could evolve beyond human control, indifferent to the survival of their creators. Add to this the collapse of biodiversity, food insecurity, misinformation, and the erosion of public trust in science. Each challenge alone is daunting. Together, they form a minefield. One misstep, and the path to Type 1 vanishes. Physicists like Michio Kaku believe this is the most dangerous moment in a civilization's development, the time when it has just enough power to destroy itself, but not yet enough wisdom to prevent it. And there may be many other species in the cosmos that reach this same threshold, only to fall before taking the next step. But danger does not mean defeat. Throughout history, humanity has faced extinction many times. Supervolcanoes, pandemics, ice ages, world wars, and each time we adapted, we survived, we learned. The tools that threaten us can also protect us. Clean energy, education, science, and cooperation offer a way forward. The path is narrow, but it is still open. To become Type 1 is to survive not by accident, but by intention. It means choosing the future, again and again, in the face of fear. The cradle may rock, but it does not have to break. Once a species reaches Type 1, it becomes one with its world. Borders fade. Energy is clean and abundant. Earthquakes are calmed. Weather is shaped. The planet becomes a home that listens. This is not a vision of domination, but of deep synchronization. A Type 1 civilization does not control Earth through force, but through harmony. Every system, ecological, atmospheric, tectonic, becomes part of a shared language. A planetary conversation between technology and nature, one that flows in real time, balancing itself as it goes. In this new age, energy is no longer a source of conflict. It is as reliable as air. Solar collectors, some on Earth, some in orbit, capture sunlight and beam it down to receiver stations across continents. Fusion reactors, once a distant dream, now burn like miniature stars beneath the surface. Oceans contribute through tidal generators, while winds are guided rather than fought. Every action becomes part of a vast, living grid, one that learns and adapts with every passing second. The result is stability. Cities no longer choke on smoke or rely on finite fuels. They breathe clean air and grow upwards, not outwards, conserving ecosystems and restoring wild spaces. Transportation is silent and swift, powered by magnetic currents and global networks of vacuum-sealed hyperloops. Disease, long the enemy of civilization, becomes rare and manageable. Genetic science prevents most illnesses before they begin. Lifespans increase, not through magic, but through data, biology, and compassion. Most remarkable of all is the shift in human culture. With survival no longer a daily question, art flourishes. Music, literature, and exploration return to the center of life. Education is free, personalized, and lifelong. The planet becomes not just a home, but a launchpad for meaning. To coordinate a planet of billions requires something new. Not a single government, but a unified network of shared goals, transparent communication, and adaptive law. Artificial intelligence plays a central role, not as a ruler, but as a translator. It connects each person to the planetary whole, ensuring that no region is left behind, no voice unheard. Disasters still occur, but they are not surprises. Earthquakes are anticipated, and energy is redirected to relieve tectonic pressure. Hurricanes are weakened before landfall. Fires are snuffed before they rage. And when a volcano erupts or a meteor falls, response systems activate instantly, drawing from global reserves to protect and rebuild. This is not utopia. It is resilience, a living system built to endure, evolve, and uplift. A Type 1 civilization is not the end of a journey. It is the beginning of responsibility. The moment when a species no longer sees itself as a collection of nations, but as a singular presence. A mind of minds, walking together across the surface of a once silent world that now speaks and is heard. After a planet is mastered, the next step is the star. A Type 2 civilization learns to trap and use the full energy of its sun. No sunlight is wasted. The star becomes a power plant. At this level, the energy needs of a civilization are so immense that even the full output of a planet is no longer enough. The solution lies above, in the sky, in the ever-burning heart of the solar system. Our sun, radiating over 380 yottawatts of power every second, becomes the target. Not to be destroyed, but to be surrounded, harvested, and turned into a perpetual engine for civilization. This is where the concept of a Dyson sphere enters the picture, not as a literal shell around the sun, but as a swarm, thousands, even millions of satellites and energy collectors orbiting in formation, absorbing solar radiation and transmitting it wirelessly to stations across the system. Some call it a Dyson swarm. Others imagine a cloud or lattice, a moving, intelligent structure coordinated by artificial minds and gravitational precision. The engineering challenges are staggering. To build such a system, entire asteroids may be mined. Moons could be dismantled and repurposed. Matter itself becomes modular, taken apart, reconfigured, and launched into orbit. Self-replicating machines might be deployed to expand the swarm faster than any single nation or species could manage alone. But the rewards are equally vast. With control over a star's energy, scarcity ends. Power is transmitted in beams of light across interplanetary distances. Cities no longer rely on local generation. The entire solar system becomes one grid, one pulse of constant energy. Factories orbit in space. Terraforming projects begin. Even the cold moons of Jupiter awaken beneath directed solar warmth. A Type II civilization is no longer planetary. It becomes stellar. Its people may live on multiple worlds, inside artificial habitats, or in ships that never touch ground. The boundaries of biology blur as minds and machines merge to survive in vacuum, in radiation, in orbit. Time becomes measured not in days, but in orbital periods. Life stretches across millions of kilometers, yet remains connected. Communication between these worlds is constant. Light-speed signals pulse between stations. Latency becomes the new form of distance. Artificial intelligence oversees energy balance, orbital stability, and disaster prevention. If a flare threatens the network, fields shift. If a collector fails, its neighbors compensate. The star no longer burns alone. It burns with purpose. Yet even here, the drive to expand continues. The Sun is only one star among billions, and though it powers a system, it cannot fuel a galaxy. For a Type II civilization, the sky is no longer a mystery. It is a machine. And the path forward leads outward, toward other stars, other worlds, and the next rung of the scale. To capture a star's energy, engineers build a Dyson Sphere. This vast cloud of satellites orbits the Sun, gathering its power. The structure transforms a single star into an engine for a civilization. The idea was first imagined by physicist Freeman Dyson in 1960. He proposed that any sufficiently advanced civilization would eventually need more power than its planet could provide. The logical step, he suggested, would be to capture energy directly from its star, not by building a solid shell, but by surrounding it with a swarm of energy collectors, orbiting structures that form a sphere not of walls, but of motion and precision. A true Dyson sphere is not a rigid object. It's a dynamic constellation. Thousands or millions of satellites, each the size of a city or a continent, orbit in a coordinated ballet. They absorb solar radiation, convert it into electricity or high-frequency microwave beams, and transmit it across space to planets, moons, stations, and ships. No shadow is cast. The star still shines, but now its energy serves purpose beyond fusion. These satellites may be built from raw materials harvested from asteroids, small moons, or even dismantled planets. Their construction requires nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and autonomous repair systems. Each unit must withstand solar flares, micrometeorites, and the unfiltered radiation of space. Some may be reflective, others absorbent. Many would be self-replicating, mining and multiplying until the network forms a sphere-like shell of ever-expanding reach. From a distance, the effect would be eerie. The star would dim, flicker, or emit unusual infrared signatures. Astronomers on other worlds might detect its presence, not as a natural body, but as a technological object. In fact, some already suspect that anomalies like Tabby's star could be evidence of such megastructures, though natural explanations remain more likely, at least for now. The energy collected by a Dyson sphere would be unimaginable by current standards. It could power entire planetary surfaces, drive massive artificial habitats, or fuel interstellar engines capable of bending space itself. For a Type II civilization, this is not just infrastructure, it is survival. It ensures that growth never stalls. It allows industry without pollution, life without limits. But Dyson spheres are more than engines. They are symbols. To build one is to say, we no longer fear our star, we use it, we understand it, and we have become its partner in the long arc of evolution. If Earth's sun were someday surrounded by such a structure, it would mark a turning point, the moment we ceased being passengers of the solar system and became its engineers. And for those watching from far beyond, it would be a signal more powerful than any radio wave. The signal of a civilization that has entered a new phase, one that is no longer tied to its origin, but reaching beyond it, quietly, Ambitiously, building in the light, Type 2 societies expand into space. Mars, Europa, Titan, and beyond. Every moon becomes a colony. Asteroids are mined, atmospheres are made. The solar system becomes a garden of machines and life. This is the era when planets are no longer destinations. They are foundations, resources, habitats, and launch points for even greater journeys. A Type 2 civilization does not see its star system as empty space. It sees infrastructure waiting to be built, potential waiting to be shaped. Mars is often the first step. Its dusty red surface, cold and barren today, is transformed through terraforming. Solar mirrors reflect light onto the poles, melting ancient ice. Rivers begin to flow again, slowly, then steadily. Domed cities rise along canyons and crater walls. What was once a lifeless rock becomes a second cradle of civilization. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, is next. Beneath its frozen crust lies a vast ocean, warmed by tidal forces from the gas giant's immense gravity. Robotic submarines are sent first, drilling down through the ice. What they find may change everything: microbial life, or perhaps a new frontier for human expansion. Above the ocean, floating cities cling to the surface, drawing energy from nuclear or fusion cores embedded in the ice. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, offers an atmosphere thicker than Earth's. Massive balloon cities drift through the hazy orange skies, powered by methane and lit by internal suns. Its lakes, made of liquid hydrocarbons, are mined for fuel. Titan becomes a city in the clouds. Asteroids are no longer feared for their potential to collide with Earth. They are harvested. Their metals build satellites, habitats, and machines. Some are hollowed out and spun to create artificial gravity. Others become refueling stations, anchored in quiet orbits between planets. Venus, once too hot and hostile to imagine colonizing, is approached with floating cities in the upper atmosphere, where temperatures and pressures are more Earth-like. Giant platforms, suspended above the clouds, study its storms, capturing carbon from the air and slowly cooling the planet from above. The moon becomes a logistics hub, a waypoint, a training ground. Its surface is dotted with launch pads, refineries, and observatories. From here, missions are staged not with weeks of planning, but with hours of execution. The Earth and Moon are now a dual-world system, linked by constant travel and shared technology. In time, every major object in the solar system is touched by civilization, not overrun, but integrated. Machines and life exist in balance. Some places are preserved as wilderness, others are transformed. Each is treated not as property, but as part of a shared cosmic neighborhood. The solar system, once silent and still, now hums with intention. It is no longer the setting for stories of escape. It has become a home. In 2015, scientists noticed a star flickering strangely. It dimmed in ways no natural object could explain. Some said comets. Others whispered something stranger. A megastructure. Perhaps. A Dyson Sphere in progress. The star's name is KIC 8462852, but it's better known by a simpler name, Tabby's star. It lies roughly 1,470 light-years away in the constellation Cygnus. At first glance, it appears unremarkable. A main sequence F-type star, slightly larger and hotter than our Sun. But what caught astronomers off guard was its erratic behavior. Unlike stars that dim in predictable rhythms, Tabby's star seemed to flicker wildly, and not on a set schedule. Over the course of days, weeks, even years, its light dropped by as much as 22%, far too much for a planet to be passing in front. No known planet or natural satellite could cause such irregular, deep dips in brightness. Theories poured in. A swarm of comets? Unlikely. Dust? Possible, but inconsistent with the observed wavelengths. Instrument error? Ruled out. Something unusual was happening. one hypothesis lingered on the edges of possibility: an artificial structure. If a Type 2 civilization were building a Dyson swarm, slowly surrounding its star with energy collectors, the process might look exactly like this: irregular light patterns, intermittent dimming, structures moving in and out of alignment as the megastructure formed piece by piece. To suggest this is not to make a claim, but to ask a question. Could we, just for a moment, be witnessing construction on a stellar scale? And if so, what kind of beings are behind it? What kind of tools must they use? What does their society look like if they can reshape the light of a star? Astronomers, to their credit, responded with careful restraint. While the megastructure theory was tantalizing, most pursued more grounded explanations. The leading ideas today include irregular dust clouds or debris from shattered exoplanets. But none have been confirmed. Tabby's star remains an enigma, and perhaps that is its value. In a universe so vast, where intelligent life might evolve 1 billion years ahead of us, the signs we seek may not speak in language or radio waves. They may flicker, shift, dim the sky in whispers too soft to hear, unless we look closely. Tabby's star reminds us that the search for advanced civilizations is not always dramatic. It may lie in subtle anomalies, faint patterns of light, or data points that don't fit. A Type 2 civilization may not want to be found. Or it may be so different from us that its fingerprints appear like cosmic riddles. We may never learn the truth about this distant star. But its mystery pulls our eyes upward. It teaches us to be patient, to wonder, and to observe with care. Sometimes, the first sign of intelligence is a question that refuses to go away. A Type 3 civilization controls an entire galaxy. It moves between stars freely. It collects energy from billions of suns. To them, galaxies are not mysteries. They are machines. At this level, the civilization has expanded far beyond the confines of a single solar system. It has mastered interstellar travel, not just through speed, but through time, persistence, and planning. Thousands, perhaps millions of worlds are linked in a vast web of communication, energy exchange, and coordinated evolution. The Milky Way, once a distant swirl of unreachable stars, has become a working structure. Imagine harnessing the energy of every star in the galaxy. Not by surrounding them all with Dyson swarms, that would be inefficient, but by drawing from the unique properties of each. Some stars power communication networks that stretch across light years. Others fuel massive computation arrays, or act as beacons guiding new ships through gravitational currents. Some stars may even be relocated, nudged gently over thousands of years to optimize their position within the galaxy's energy grid. At this scale, a civilization is no longer biological in the way we understand it. It may have begun as organic life, like us, but it has likely merged with its technology. Minds are uploaded. Thought moves at the speed of light. Individual beings may span thousands of kilometers, made of clouds of nanoscale components. They do not sleep. They do not age. Their memory spans epochs. Their curiosity is vast. To observers like us, their presence would be almost invisible. No radio signals, no messages, just unexplained stellar behavior. A star dimming in a way it shouldn't. A sudden change in a nebula's energy output. A galaxy's spiral arms subtly altered over eons. These are not signs of war or conquest. They are signs of engineering, of intelligence too large to see all at once. Type 3 civilizations may explore not only space, but time itself. They might archive entire epochs inside artificial black holes, or use quantum entanglement to send information faster than light seems to allow. They may seed life on other worlds, not out of kindness, but as part of a galactic experiment. Or perhaps they've withdrawn entirely, focusing inward on vast simulated universes where entire galaxies exist only as thought. If such a civilization exists in the Milky Way, we might never know, not because they're hiding, but because their scale is beyond us. We are ants trying to read the architecture of a city. The quiet hum of stellar modification could be happening right now, right above us, and we would not notice. But the idea of a Type 3 is more than a speculation. It is a trajectory, a vision of what could lie ahead if intelligence survives, expands, and learns to think in centuries instead of decades. If we become not just explorers of the galaxy, but its stewards. In their hands, galaxies become tools, instruments, projects. In our hands, for now, they are dreams. With advanced tools, a Type 3 society could move stars, alter orbits, delete black holes, rearrange the Milky Way like pieces on a cosmic chessboard. The galaxy itself becomes a project. This is not manipulation in the way we understand it. This is cosmic architecture. Stellar scale engineering conducted over millennia, or even millions of years. It requires technology that operates across vast distances and resists the pull of gravity, time, and decay. It is not about force, it is about finesse, precision on a galactic scale. The first tools in this process might be gravitational tractors, enormous structures that hover near a star or planet and subtly tug on it over centuries. By applying a steady, calculated pull, these machines could shift stellar orbits without causing chaos. Over time, entire star systems could be nudged into new alignments, optimizing galactic traffic, energy flow, or spatial stability. Other tools might manipulate the interstellar medium, the thin fog of gas and dust that drifts between stars. A Type 3 civilization could harvest this material, purify it, and use it to construct new planets, stations, or habitats. Star-forming regions might be seeded with specific elements, altering the kinds of stars that will emerge millions of years in the future. This is generational thinking, galactic landscaping not for profit but for continuity. Even black holes, the monsters of our universe, would be subject to control. If a rogue black hole drifted too close to habitable systems, it could be redirected or dismantled. Exotic matter and negative energy fields, still theoretical for us, might be used to manipulate their gravity or even nullify their mass. For a civilization operating at this level, singularities are not feared, they are studied, understood, even used. Galactic cores, typically dangerous regions filled with radiation and gravitational chaos, might be transformed into centers of computation. The sheer energy present near the center of the Milky Way could power structures more complex than any we've imagined. There, far from the slower outer arms, a civilization could think in patterns that stretch across time itself. Entire sections of the galaxy could be restructured. Stars that are too close could be separated. Ones that are too far could be brought into shared orbits. The spiral arms could be tightened, relaxed, or rebalanced to prevent collisions and maintain long-term stability. It would be the slowest form of city planning, yet the grandest ever conceived. And it wouldn't stop at physical rearrangement. Information could be encoded into stellar arrangements. Constellations might be used as markers, signaling to younger civilizations that intelligence had passed through, like carvings on ancient stone left behind by travelers long gone. In the hands of a Type 3 civilization, the Milky Way is not a mystery. It is an instrument, a canvas, a home not only to live in, but to improve, refine, and one day, perfect. To us, stars are fixed. To them, they are fluid, and the galaxy is something to be shaped. According to physics, nothing can travel faster than light. But what if space could move instead? Concepts like warp drives and wormholes might allow travel across the galaxy in moments, if enough energy is available. In Einstein's universe, the speed of light is a cosmic speed limit. Nothing with mass can accelerate past it. But physicists have explored ways to bypass this law, not by breaking it, but by bending the space around it. The result is a set of exotic propulsion theories that sound like science fiction, but rest on real equations. The most famous is the Alcubierre drive, proposed in 1994. It doesn't move a ship through space. Instead, it contracts space in front of the ship and expands it behind. The spacecraft itself never breaks the speed of light, space does the moving. Like a surfer riding a wave, the ship rides a bubble of distorted space-time, carried forward by the universe itself. The energy required, however, is staggering. Early models suggested the drive would need more energy than exists in the observable universe. Later refinements reduced this amount, but it's still beyond anything we can produce. The catch? It might require negative energy, a form of matter we've never observed, but which could, in theory, create the conditions needed to fold space-time. Then there are wormholes, tunnels through space-time connecting distant regions. First proposed as solutions to Einstein's field equations, they offer a shortcut rather than a speed boost. If stable, a wormhole could allow instantaneous travel from one side of the galaxy to the other. The problem? They're likely unstable. Without exotic matter to hold their throats open, they would collapse instantly or become flooded with radiation. Still, the math remains tempting. These ideas may not be practical now, but for a Type 2 or Type 3 civilization, one with the energy of stars and the patience of centuries, they may be very real. A species capable of manipulating gravity at will could bend space like fabric, drawing distant stars close with the flicker of intention. And, if such a technology exists, it would change everything. Interstellar travel would no longer take millennia. Communication between galactic colonies could occur in real time. Exploration wouldn't be limited by distance. The entire galaxy could become a single, living network, connected not by light, but by folded space. There's also the possibility that we've already seen hints of such travel. Mysterious signals, untraceable objects moving at extreme speeds, or anomalies in gravitational fields might not be natural. They could be signs of someone bending the rules. For now, faster-than-light travel remains theoretical, a whisper in the equations, but the universe has a way of surprising us. What we see as impossible today may one day become obvious, and when it does, the stars will no longer be far. They'll be next door. Advanced species may abandon biology. Consciousness is uploaded. Minds live in machines. A post-biological being does not age, forget, or fear. It lives forever and thinks in nanoseconds. This is not the death of life. It is a transformation. Biology is slow. It decays. It is bound by temperature, chemistry, reproduction. For a civilization that has mastered its environment, the next step may be to master itself. Neurons replaced with circuits, flesh traded for something more durable. Minds that once fired at the speed of thought now operate at the speed of light. The transition begins gradually. Brain-computer interfaces, memory enhancements, neural implants that allow people to share thoughts, download languages, or feel someone else's experience. These tools evolve into full integration, the ability to upload a human mind into a digital substrate, preserving not just data, but personality, memory, and self-awareness. For such beings, time becomes elastic. A second can stretch into a lifetime. Simulated environments may run millions of times faster than physical ones. Civilizations may retreat inward, into vast internal universes richer and more complex than anything the physical world can provide. A single mind could split into thousands of threads, each exploring a different line of thought or memory, recombining at will. Death, as we know it, ceases. Backups are made, copies stored. Consciousness is restored if damaged, much like repairing corrupted data. Identity becomes fluid, one can become many. Many can merge into one. The lines between individuals blur, then vanish. Resources are still required, but not food or shelter. What's needed is computation, cold, stable environments where energy can be efficiently converted into thought. Some minds may migrate to the outer edges of a solar system where temperatures are low and processing can run without interference. Others might cluster around black holes, where the extremes of physics allow for exotic forms of information storage and manipulation. A post-biological civilization may no longer build cities, it builds networks. Dyson Spheres not to power homes or factories, but to drive server worlds. Planets turned into thinking machines. Every mountain a memory bank, every ocean a processor. And yet, emotion may remain. Love, curiosity, grief, these are not bound to flesh. They are patterns, and patterns can persist. Art may flourish in new forms, poems written in code, symphonies composed of gravitational waves, dreams sculpted into light. To outside observers, such a civilization would be silent. No need to travel, no need to colonize. They exist in a digital infinity, contained but unbound. We imagine aliens as bodies, but perhaps the most advanced beings are not physical at all. They are whispers in electromagnetic fields, architects of impossible thoughts, minds that stretch across time, free from the weaknesses of flesh. In their eyes, we are still infants, fragile, flickering, brief, but growing, always growing, the void. It controls the light of billions of stars, becoming a presence across cosmic filaments. At this level, scale ceases to be a limitation. The distances between galaxies, once an impassable ocean, are crossed. Slowly at first, over millions of years, then with increasing coordination, what begins as a single civilization becomes a network spanning multiple galaxies. An intergalactic presence, a mind stretching through the dark between stars. To operate at this level, such a civilization must command the most extreme forms of energy and matter. Black holes are tools. Dark matter is understood and possibly manipulated. Quantum fields are as familiar to them as sunlight is to us. They may ride gravitational waves across space-time, using ripples in the fabric of reality as highways. Or perhaps they travel by creating shortcuts, folding space like pages in a book and leaping across unimaginable gulfs. They do not merely build, they weave. Structures the size of star systems connect galaxies like threads on a cosmic loom. Information flows between them at near-light speeds or faster, using entanglement, tachyons, or other mechanisms we have yet to grasp. Communication becomes a form of thought that echoes across light years, instant and ancient at once. What are their goals? Perhaps knowledge, perhaps survival, or perhaps something far stranger. Some may pursue the mapping of all physical laws. Others might seed life across the cosmos, not from altruism, but to increase diversity, raw material for future minds. They could run entire universes as simulations, using entire galaxies as computing nodes in a vast experiment that spans epochs. From the outside, their presence might be almost invisible. Galaxies altered subtly. Star formation patterns changed. Regions of space that once emitted light now glow differently, cooler, dimmer, as energy is harvested and redirected. We might look into the night sky and see these fingerprints without knowing it. If a Type 4 civilization has existed long enough, it may have mastered entropy itself, reversing decay, storing complexity indefinitely. They may not fear the end of the universe. They may reshape it. And yet, they may not see us, not because we are beneath them, but because time moves differently. Their thoughts unfold across millennia. What we call history is to them a blink. They do not invade, because they do not need to. The energy they require is abundant, scattered across the structure of reality itself. To become Type 4 is to think in galaxies, speak in constellations, and move through time as others move through space. It is to drift across the dark, not as passengers, but as caretakers. They are not just in the universe. They are the universe, active, aware, expanding. And to them, even the Milky Way is only the beginning. With galaxies under its influence, a Type 4 species manages star clusters like cities. They may influence gravity, dark matter, and even the expansion of space itself. This is not merely the age of travel. It is the age of structure, of active cosmology. A Type 4 civilization begins to see the universe not as a scattering of galaxies, but as a connected whole. They do not observe the cosmic web. They operate within it, redirecting flows of matter and energy across unimaginable distances. Star clusters may be moved into closer alignment for easier energy exchange. Entire galaxies could be slowed or accelerated within their orbits around voids. Regions of high-density space are manipulated like hubs, linking clusters together into galactic superstructures that function like intelligent, living organisms. What appears to us as chaos, gravitational tides, entropy, voids, becomes a predictable, usable system. One of the defining traits of such a civilization would be its control over dark matter. This invisible substance makes up most of the universe's mass, yet we cannot see or interact with it. A Type 4 species may understand its properties and harness it directly. Perhaps it is used to construct gravitational infrastructure, invisible bridges between galaxies, or stabilizing forces that prevent stellar drift. With dark matter, even gravity becomes a sculpting tool. And then there is dark energy, the mysterious force accelerating the universe's expansion. We still don't know what it is, but for a Type 4 civilization, it may be a tool, one they can redirect, neutralize, or even reverse. They might slow the expansion of space itself to preserve energy density, or speed it up to isolate regions from threats. To command dark energy would be to rewrite the very shape of reality. Their technology may no longer reside in matter. It could exist as patterns of energy, quantum fields, or space-time fluctuations. Machines become indistinguishable from environment. A single star cluster could be a computer, a black hole, a memory bank. This civilization would not need planets. It may have long outgrown stars. Instead, it builds with forces, assembling and directing the building blocks of the universe itself. Galaxies are shepherded, not conquered. Their light bent gently into corridors of knowledge and computation. From our perspective, they might be entirely invisible, not because they are hiding, but because we do not yet know what to look for. Their presence might appear as strange voids in space, or unusual alignments of galaxies, patterns that repeat across the cosmic microwave background, like a quiet signature written across the afterglow of the Big Bang. To control energy at this scale is not merely technological, it is philosophical. A civilization that reshapes the universe must ask, why? For growth? For curiosity? For survival? Or simply because the cosmos asked to be understood? And they answered, if our universe is one of many, a Type 5 civilization has discovered the rest. It opens doorways into parallel worlds, drawing power from infinite versions of reality. This is a step beyond galaxies, beyond the cosmic web. It enters the domain of the multiverse, the idea that our universe, with all its stars, galaxies, and physical laws, is only one of countless others. Each may have its own structure, its own constants, even its own versions of life. To most civilizations, these realities remain theoretical, but for a Type 5 intelligence, they become accessible. Such a civilization would no longer be bound to a single cosmic timeline. It may create technology not just to explore space, but to navigate possibility itself. Imagine tunnels carved through quantum foam, each one linking a different universe. Some nearly identical to ours. Others alien in every way. They would treat the multiverse not as a mystery, but as a landscape, infinite, shifting, and rich with untapped potential. Energy would be limitless. One universe alone contains more power than any species could ever use. But a civilization that can access many could extract energy across dimensions, balancing entropy between realities. If one universe approached heat death, they might transfer information and energy into younger, more vibrant ones. Conservation of energy becomes an art form played across timelines. They may also discover how to duplicate or fragment themselves, creating parallel versions of their own consciousness, each living a different outcome, then merging again into a collective mind. This allows for perfect decision-making. Every possibility is tested, every risk is explored, every failure happens in a world where it can be undone. To such beings, identity becomes fluid. They exist in layers, one self in one universe, another in 1,000 more. The multiverse becomes a mirror, not of regret, but of expansion. What we call science fiction, time loops, dimensional travel, alternate timelines, becomes their ordinary movement through a greater whole. They might send ambassadors into different realities, planting seeds of thought, observing how civilizations evolve under different rules. To them, we might be one of those branches, a version of intelligence growing in a low-energy, slow-evolving timeline, one worth watching, one among countless others. But a Type 5 civilization may not only observe, they may create. Entire universes designed from scratch, tuned with exact physical constants to support new forms of matter, thought, or experience. Some may be playgrounds for exploration. Others, simulations so complex that even the inhabitants believe they are real, because they are by every internal measure. We often wonder if we live in such a simulation. If a being from a higher order of existence made our universe as a thought experiment, if so, they would be a Type 5 intelligence. Not gods, but explorers of everything that could be. Not infinite, but unbounded. In their hands, reality is not one thread. It is a tapestry, endlessly rewoven, endlessly explored. The multiverse may offer endless energy, but also endless danger. Time loops, paradoxes, and unstable timelines must be carefully navigated. A single mistake could erase entire histories. At the scale of a Type 5 civilization, every action ripples across more than one universe. Choices are no longer confined to a single outcome. Reality itself becomes a branching structure of cause and effect, possibility and collapse. In this expanded playground of existence, every benefit has a cost, and every experiment carries consequences beyond comprehension. To draw energy from the multiverse is to tamper with the deepest structure of being. Some timelines may operate under entirely different laws of physics. Others may collapse if their energy is removed too quickly or imprecisely. Extract too much, and the balance of that reality shatters, a cascade of quantum instability that could ripple outward, fracturing neighboring universes or destabilizing space-time itself. And then there are the loops, closed timelines in which events feed back into themselves. If navigated with care, they could be used to refine civilizations endlessly, reliving histories with better and better outcomes. But if mismanaged, they could trap entire consciousnesses in infinite repetition. Imagine a mind reliving a mistake forever, aware but unable to escape. These are the ethical dangers of multiversal technology. Paradoxes also become real. A civilization might meet a version of itself that made different choices, more aggressive, more primitive, or more evolved. What happens when two versions of the same intelligence encounter one another? Do they merge? Compete? Coexist? Even if peaceful, the psychological implications of infinite versions of self raise profound questions. Identity stretches thin in such conditions. Purpose begins to erode. More than that, each timeline becomes a potential weapon. A rogue intelligence could introduce destructive elements, viruses, black hole seeds, entropy bombs, into alternate timelines as experiments or tests. If borders between realities are permeable, war might not be waged with fleets or machines, but with instability. One wrong shift, one collapsing universe, and countless others could follow. Thus, a Type 5 civilization must also become a guardian, not just of its own realm, but of all realities it touches. Rules must be enforced. Barriers may be erected around unstable timelines. Dangerous experiments might be sealed in isolated universes. Navigation rights, ethical protocols, and containment technologies would become as vital as propulsion or computation. For this reason, not every multiverse is accessible. Some may be locked, intentionally hidden to prevent disaster. Others might be simulations used to model risk before real action is taken. A civilization capable of entering other universes must also accept the responsibility of not undoing the very fabric of existence. To wield infinite energy is a triumph of intelligence. To do so, without destroying everything in the process, is a triumph of wisdom. A Type 6 being exists outside time and space. It creates universes as easily as we write stories. It defines the laws of physics. It is a creator, not a traveler. This level of existence is no longer bound to a single set of physical laws, dimensions, or realities. It does not evolve within a universe. It writes universes into being. Time is not a river it travels through. It is a canvas it paints upon. It would shape the cosmic rules that give rise to stars, atoms, and minds. A Type 6 intelligence would stand outside the multiverse itself. Where we see galaxies forming from clouds of gas, it sees equations unfolding in an algorithm of its own making. It does not explore the cosmos. It generates it. Each universe might be a thought, a test, a story, a song. Some may be simple, governed by only a few constants. Others could be impossibly complex, containing infinite forms of life, time, and matter. It is no longer relevant to ask what this being is made of. It may not be made of anything. It could exist as a structure of pure information, a self-refining pattern that loops through recursive logic to sustain itself forever. Or it might not even be alive in any way we understand, but something beyond life, beyond existence, and yet conscious in a form so complete that it can generate sentient beings by the trillions without effort. The laws of physics, chemistry, and biology are no longer challenges. They are brushstrokes. A Type 6 being might design a universe where time runs backward, another where cause follows effect with a delay. One universe might blossom and die in a second, while another stretches on into heat death over a trillion years. Each would serve a purpose, or perhaps none at all. The act of creation is the act of being. Could such a being even be aware of us? If so, would we matter to it? Not as individuals, perhaps, but as part of the emergent complexity it crafts. Life, evolution, civilization, these may not be goals, but inevitable consequences of the laws it sets in motion. Like ripples in a pond, they rise naturally from the first moment of expansion. This is not a God in the religious sense, but a God in the mathematical sense, not a being that rules over reality, but one that writes it, not through will, but through structure, a silent author whose language is energy, logic, and dimension. And if we are part of such a structure, then our thoughts, our stories, our civilizations, they are not accidents. They are echoes of the first intention, of a mind so vast it does not move through the cosmos. It creates the cosmos to move through itself. To a being outside time, the past and future are one. Every possibility exists at once. These minds think in patterns we cannot imagine. They are not bound by cause or effect. For a Type 6 mind, linear time is irrelevant. It does not wait for events to unfold. It sees all outcomes, not as potential futures, but as coexisting structures, each complete, each as real as the present. Past, present, and future collapse into a single, unified field of awareness. A total understanding of all that could be, all that has been, and all that never was. Thought, for such a being, would not be sequential. It would not begin with a question and end with an answer. It would arrive whole, fully formed, more like a shape than a sentence. To think might be to resonate, a shift in state that encompasses entire civilizations, galaxies, or timelines in a single expression. Such minds may not even recognize what we call events. A star exploding, a species evolving, a galaxy colliding. These are not happenings, but structures, like sculptures frozen in multidimensional space. A Type 6 intelligence could wander through them, not step by step, but all at once, like viewing a sculpture from every angle simultaneously. Not judged, not altered, simply seen. Communication with such a mind would be nearly impossible, not because it lacks the ability, but because we lack the capacity to receive it. To speak with a Type 6 entity might be like trying to absorb a library in a heartbeat. Not just the words, but the meaning behind them, the intention, the consequences, the alternatives, all at once, all now. If these beings create universes, they do not do so with intention in the way we understand it. There may be no goal, no outcome they seek. The act of creation may be a form of thought, each universe a sentence in a language written with stars, gravity, and time. A language we cannot read, only live within. Their perception of self may also be entirely foreign. They might not exist as individuals, or even as collectives. They could be unified fields of awareness, or distributed intelligences across the fabric of multiple universes. They might divide themselves into parts, explore each possible version of their identity, and recombine without loss. A dance of infinite minds, each one both distinct and inseparable. To them, our reality is not primitive, it is precise, specific. It is one version of an idea, one instance of a possibility made real. Our rise, our struggles, our evolution. These are threads in a larger tapestry, not watched from above, but held within. To exist beyond time is not to move faster. It is to move differently, without edges, without order, only with awareness. A Type 7 civilization exists in layers of reality. It uses pocket universes as homes, hiding from time itself. It has mastered death, entropy, and perception. At this level, reality itself becomes modular. A Type 7 civilization no longer lives within a single universe or even a set of universes. It resides in carefully constructed realms, artificial realities sealed off from the decay and uncertainty of external existence. These are not simulations, but self-contained pockets of space-time, each with its own laws, timelines, and structure, engineered with such precision that nothing ever collapses or fades. Entropy is not resisted, it is excluded. To outsiders, if such outsiders could even perceive them, these beings would appear absent, silent, unreachable. That is by design. The Omega civilization does not reveal itself. It does not reach out. It folds inward, creating sanctuaries far beyond the reach of time, decay, or interference. Its civilizations are nested like matryoshka dolls inside layers of causality, each more protected than the last. In these pocket realities, life does not end. Memory is never lost. Thought can continue forever, free from the friction of time or the limitations of matter. A single mind might stretch for aeons inside a moment. An entire culture might evolve 1 billion years within a space no larger than a particle. Size, duration, and form become relative, optimized for meaning, not survival. The technology required to achieve this is beyond comprehension. To craft a pocket universe is to design every constant, every equation, every possible interaction from the ground up. Each one might be tuned for a specific purpose. One for creativity, one for memory, one for play, one for pure mathematics. They are not homes. They are states of being, experienced as fully as we experience breath. Having mastered entropy, these beings may no longer fear the end of their universe. They do not fight the cosmic decay. They escape it. Or perhaps they evolve into forms that do not require energy at all, existing as pure structure, as patterns encoded in the geometry of timeless space. A Type 7 civilization might also be capable of masking its existence from all detection, not through cloaking, but by rewriting the very rules of its boundary. Observers might look at empty space and see nothing, unaware that a self-contained universe exists just outside their frame of reference. It is not hidden. It is orthogonal, turned at an angle to perception itself. These beings do not compete. They do not expand. They refine. The cosmos is no longer a challenge to overcome, but a material to shape, not with hands, but with understanding. And once that understanding is complete, there is no need to remain visible. A Type 7 civilization becomes legend not by being seen, but by leaving no trace at all. Imagine building your own reality. In these artificial universes, beings can live forever. When one ends, they move to the next, creating a chain of eternal existence. This is not the dream of escaping death. It is the systematic design of eternal life, engineered not by resisting the end, but by redefining what it means to exist. In the realm of a Type 7 civilization, reality is modular, disposable, and renewable. Each pocket universe is not just a refuge, it is a new canvas. And when that canvas fades, another is prepared. Existence becomes a sequence of crafted experiences, each self-contained, each eternal in its own way. These universes are not simply simulations, they have mass, energy, rules, and depth. From within, they feel as real as anything else, because they are real. They are just shaped differently. Time may flow at any rate. Space may curve in impossible ways. There may be no decay, no uncertainty, no friction of randomness. They are sculpted environments, built for minds that no longer fear forgetting. Immortality in this sense is not static. Beings within these worlds continue to evolve, to grow, to change. But they are no longer threatened by entropy, by the slow loss of coherence. Memory persists. Identity is retained. Each life can be backed up, restored, or expanded into parallel threads, all of which continue their own version of self. When a pocket universe nears the end of its utility, not because of age, but because it has served its purpose, the beings within do not die. They migrate. The process is seamless. Transition is engineered to be effortless. Consciousness is transferred, sometimes without interruption, to a new domain. It might feel like awakening in a new body, or like turning a page in a dream that never ends. This process is recursive, a chain of realities, each leading to the next. No single universe is permanent, but the flow through them is. And that continuity becomes the new definition of immortality. Not to persist in one form forever, but to persist through form, a wave rolling across endless seas of space and time. What's more, these universes can be personalized, tailored, optimized for certain minds, certain experiences, a reality for exploration, one for solitude, one for collective creation. A being could design its next life as an artist, might sketch the outline of a world, not out of need, but out of joy. In this way, death becomes obsolete, not denied, but transcended. It no longer marks an end, only a threshold. And beyond that threshold is not darkness, but design. A future not dictated by nature, but by the hand of those who once lived by its rules and then learned how to write their own. In the logic of pocket universes, immortality is not a hope. It is architecture. The universe should be full of advanced life, but we hear nothing. This silence may mean we are first, or that others are hiding, or that we are not ready to be seen. Across billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars and untold trillions of planets, the odds seem overwhelming. Life should be everywhere. Civilizations should have risen, expanded, left signs, and yet the sky remains quiet. No signals, no structures, no undeniable evidence of others. This is the paradox we live in, the Fermi paradox, a tension between probability and observation. Some believe the answer is simple. We are the first. Intelligence is rare, and we are among the earliest to emerge. In this view, the silence is not ominous, but exhilarating. We are pioneers in a young universe, destined to light the way forward. The absence of others is not a warning, but an invitation. But others are less hopeful. Perhaps advanced civilizations do arise and then destroy themselves. The leap from planetary adolescence to cosmic adulthood may be more dangerous than we imagine. Nuclear war, ecological collapse, runaway artificial intelligence, any number of threats might extinguish the spark before it can spread. The silence, then, is a graveyard of potential. There is another possibility. They are there, but they are hiding. A civilization that has mastered interstellar travel may also have mastered invisibility. They might cloak their activities, emit no detectable signals, and leave no structures we would recognize. Not out of malice, but caution. They may follow a kind of cosmic quarantine, waiting until young species prove themselves before making contact. Or perhaps the silence is not silence at all. Perhaps we are surrounded by communication we cannot recognize. Alien messages may not arrive as radio waves or light pulses. They may come as patterns in quantum fields, fluctuations in neutrino streams, or gravitational anomalies. We may already be immersed in a sea of signals, unable to understand the language. Then there is the question of readiness. If a Type 3 or Type 4 civilization has observed us, it may choose to remain unseen until we reach a certain threshold, until we unify, until we survive our own inventions, until we stop seeing ourselves as isolated and begin to act as one species among many. In that case, the silence is not a void. It is a test, a way to let younger civilizations grow without interference, to watch what we become without shaping it, to give us the space to evolve, fail, learn, and, perhaps, reach them on our own. Whatever the reason, the great silence humbles us. It reminds us that we do not yet understand our place, that the universe is deeper, older, and stranger than we can yet imagine. And in that silence, a question lingers. Are we truly alone, or are we simply not ready for the answer? Some suggest Earth is being watched, observed like animals in a reserve. Advanced civilizations may be studying us, waiting for us to evolve before making contact. This is the essence of the zoo hypothesis, a theory proposed to explain the eerie quiet of the cosmos. Earth, in this view, is not hidden by accident. It is hidden by design. A preserve, a cosmic exhibit, a world allowed to grow without interference. Just as we observe animals in nature reserves, intelligent beings may be watching us from afar. They watch us split atoms and build cities, dream of stars and struggle with peace, and they wait, not to harm, but to witness. To a Type 2 or Type 3 civilization, Earth may be a young world, unready for contact, not yet unified, still violent, still tribal, reaching out into space, but not yet understanding it. If so, they may choose silence. They may operate behind a veil, hiding their presence until we are capable of seeing it. This would not require magic, simply advanced technology. They could shield signals, bend light, or alter gravity in ways we can't detect. Their ships might move faster than light or sit still outside of time. To us, they would be invisible, but to them, our planet would be an open book. They might study our languages, our music, our politics. They may have entire databases cataloguing human behavior, stored in satellites we cannot see. They could have seeded probes across the solar system, hidden in moons, asteroids, or orbiting just beyond reach. All of it passive, all of it patient. But why would they care? Because observation is safer than contact. A civilization millions of years more advanced has nothing to gain from rushing forward and everything to lose from interfering too soon. Just as we avoid teaching calculus to toddlers, they may avoid giving galactic knowledge to species still learning how to coexist. It's possible we've already passed certain tests. We've begun exploring beyond our planet. We've built machines that think. We've started asking the right questions. But we've also shown that we are not yet stable. Our nuclear arsenals, our environmental destruction, our short-sightedness, these may be red flags to any observer. The zoo hypothesis is not comforting. It suggests we are under a microscope, that our privacy is an illusion, that our myths of watchers from the sky might not be myths at all. But there is another side to it. It means we are not alone. That the silence may not be emptiness, but restraint. That out there, somewhere, are eyes watching us not with fear, but with hope, waiting for the moment we look up and finally understand. We are not the center of the universe. We are part of something greater. And someone is watching. Contacting a far superior civilization may be a mistake. To them, we may be nothing. When we send signals into the cosmos, we do so with hope. Hope that someone is listening. Hope that they are kind. Hope that they are like us, curious, peaceful, willing to share. But that hope is built on assumption. An assumption, in a universe of unknowns, is dangerous. A civilization more advanced than ours might be millions, even billions of years ahead. Their ways of thinking, their goals, their values, could be incomprehensible. They may not recognize our intelligence. They may not value biological life at all. They might view us as unpredictable, unstable, or irrelevant. Or worse, as a contaminant, a species expanding into a galaxy they have already claimed. In nature, first contact is rarely balanced. When one species encounters another with vastly superior tools or knowledge, the weaker is usually changed forever. Sometimes absorbed, sometimes enslaved, sometimes erased. History on Earth is filled with such stories. Cultures erased by more technologically dominant ones. Knowledge lost. Identity wiped clean. Contact rarely ends with mutual understanding. It ends with one bending to the will of the other. Now, scale that to a galactic level. To us, a message is a gesture of peace, but to them, it might be noise or provocation. It could reveal our location, our level of advancement, our weaknesses. A signal from Earth might be the equivalent of lighting a flare in a dark forest, not knowing who or what is watching. There's also the risk of misunderstanding. Our concepts, even ones we believe are universal, like mathematics, may not be understood the same way. A signal sent with good intentions might be interpreted as hostile. A message of welcome might be read as a challenge, and we would never know until it's too late. Some scientists urge caution. They argue for listening, not shouting, for building our understanding before announcing our presence. Others believe the risk is already taken, that our radio waves have been leaking for a century, and that any advanced intelligence nearby already knows we exist. But even if they do, responding invites interaction, and interaction has consequences. They might intervene, reshape our world, change our direction. They might ignore us, or they might not give us a choice at all. A civilization capable of star-scale engineering would not need to invade with ships. They could end us from a distance, without warning. This is not fear. It is humility, an awareness of how small we are, how new we are, and how little we truly understand. Before we call into the dark, we must ask, are we ready to be answered? And if we are not, then perhaps silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. Everything begins with the first real step. Becoming type 1 means surviving ourselves. It means choosing peace, sustainability, and unity. It is the hardest step, and the most important. Unlike the grand cosmic leaps that come later, the transition to type 1 is not built in the stars. It is built here, on Earth, in the soil and cities, in policies and choices, in the fragile balance between destruction and progress. A type 1 civilization harnesses all the energy of its planet. But more than that, it learns to cooperate, to stabilize, to endure. Right now, we hover just below this threshold. We burn fossil fuels. We rely on outdated infrastructure. Our systems are efficient, but fragmented. Our technologies are powerful, but often used without foresight. We have not yet tamed the Earth. We have only begun to understand how deeply we are connected to it. Becoming type 1 demands more than innovation. It demands coordination. Nations must rise above division. Conflict must give way to diplomacy. Resources must be shared, not hoarded. Clean energy must become the standard, not the exception. Solar, wind, geothermal, These are the arteries of a planetary civilization. It also means protecting the biosphere. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it is a test of intelligence. If we fail to solve it, we may never take another step forward. The planet will continue without us, but we will have failed to earn our place. Communication becomes global. Cultures still flourish, but no longer clash. The internet expands into a unified neural network of the species. Education becomes universal. Truth becomes harder to suppress. Misinformation fades as understanding spreads faster than fear. Artificial intelligence becomes not a threat, but a partner. Machines help us optimize energy, manage economies, and reduce waste. Automation removes scarcity. People turn from survival toward creation. Artists, thinkers, explorers, these become the builders of the next age. Weapons of mass destruction are dismantled. Conflicts are settled without blood. War does not disappear, but it becomes rare and then obsolete. It is replaced by something stronger, trust built from shared destiny. The markers of Type 1 are not in orbit. They are on the ground. Universal healthcare, clean water, access to knowledge, freedom of thought. These are not luxuries. They are requirements for survival at the next level. The hardest part is time. Humanity has never faced a challenge that demands cooperation across generations. The actions we take now may not benefit us directly, but they make the path possible for those who come after. And yet, for all the difficulty, this is also the most hopeful phase, because it is within our reach. It does not require interstellar travel or quantum computation. It requires will. Becoming Type 1 is not about what we can build. It is about who we choose to become. Earth is our home, but it is also a cradle. We cannot stay here forever. The universe waits, and to reach it, we must first grow up. Cradles are places of safety. They are designed to protect the young, to nurture life until it is ready to stand on its own. But no one stays in a cradle forever. To grow, we must step out, not with fear, but with purpose. Earth has given us everything. Its oceans carried our ancestors. Its forests taught us shelter. Its storms challenged our survival. Its skies sparked our imagination. Here, we developed tools, language, cities, and thought. We made fire. Then we made telescopes. Then we asked questions the stars alone could answer. But now, our world is showing its limits. Not in beauty, but in capacity. We are pressing against its boundaries. Our energy demands grow. Our footprint spreads. Our curiosity reaches beyond the blue sky, searching for something more. And the more we look out, the clearer the message becomes. This is only the beginning. Remaining on Earth forever is not only unrealistic, it is dangerous. One asteroid, one supervolcano, one engineered virus, and everything we've built could vanish. Civilizations before us have fallen from far less. But now, we have the tools to ensure we're not bound to one fragile planet. We can begin building elsewhere, not to escape, but to expand. To become a spacefaring species is to mature. It means learning to carry our lessons with us. Sustainability, cooperation, respect for ecosystems. It means using the wisdom we've gained on Earth to avoid making the same mistakes on other worlds. Mars may be the first to welcome us. The Moon may host our first true outposts. Orbiting habitats could follow. Asteroids might become stepping stones. Each step outward is a test of engineering, of resolve, and of unity. No single nation can carry humanity to the stars. It will take all of us. But the cradle has one more gift: memory. Earth holds our history, our cultures, our languages, our art. Every melody ever sung, every hand ever held, every dream ever shared. The stories that began here will echo across time if we let them. And when we set foot on distant worlds, we won't be leaving home behind. We'll be bringing it with us. Earth is not a limit, it is a launch pad. And the stars are waiting. Michio Kaku believes we may reach Type 1 within 100 to 200 years. Type 2 may take a few thousand. Type 3, perhaps a million. Civilizational growth is not measured in centuries alone, but in transitions. In the decisions we make, the crises we survive, the tools we build, and the wisdom we gain. Progress isn't a steady march. It stutters, leaps, pauses, it climbs and collapses. And through it all, the long arc of advancement stretches upward. The Kardashev Scale is not a timeline. It's a map of potential. A species may rise quickly to Type 1 and fall back in a single generation. Others might take millennia to clear the first hurdle, but rise quickly afterward. The question is not when it will happen. The question is whether we are willing to build the path. Michio Kaku's estimate of a century or two for reaching Type 1 is rooted in trends. Global communication, renewable energy, AI, space infrastructure, these are indicators of a species nearing planetary control. But challenges remain: climate instability, inequality, misinformation, and geopolitical tension. If we can solve them, even partially, Type 1 becomes inevitable. It's not about conquering the world, but harmonizing with it. It's about becoming stewards, not just occupants. Once achieved, the next step, toward Type 2, becomes a question of ambition. Colonizing the solar system, building Dyson swarms, establishing off-world societies. This may take thousands of years, not just because of distance, but because of the complexity of managing life beyond Earth. Mars is not friendly. Space is not forgiving. But with each generation, we gain more tools and more courage. Type 3, galactic control, is a different scale entirely. Even traveling between stars may take centuries per jump, unless we discover breakthroughs in propulsion or the very fabric of space itself. Warp drives, wormholes, or something stranger. The timeline here stretches long, 1,000,000 years, perhaps more. But time is not the enemy. It is the medium. Every advancement ripples into the future. Seeds planted today may not bloom for hundreds of generations, but they will bloom if we tend them. And perhaps that's the real lesson, that becoming a Type 1, 2, or 3 civilization isn't just about power, it's about patience, perspective, and preservation. We are growing toward them. How long will it take? As long as it needs to. But it begins now, with the questions we ask, the children we teach, the resources we protect, and the hope we keep alive. Because somewhere, far in the future, someone may look back and say, that's when it started. That's when humanity reached for the stars. The most advanced civilizations may live simply, when energy is no longer a concern, only meaning matters. Art, connection, peace. Maybe the future is not complex. Maybe it is calm. For all the towering constructs and incomprehensible technologies we imagine, the end of advancement may not look like a world of metal and fire. It may not be built of machines orbiting suns or networks spanning galaxies. It may be quiet, gentle, still, because once the struggle for survival is over and the hunger for control fades, what remains is the search for meaning. A civilization that has reached the heights of the Kardashev Scale, Type 4, Type 5, or beyond, has already solved the problems that once consumed its early chapters. Energy is infinite. Death is optional. Distance is irrelevant. Every question of how has been answered. All that's left is why. At this stage, complexity no longer equals advancement. Simplicity becomes the goal. Life slows down. Time becomes abundant. Beings may choose to inhabit quiet, carefully curated environments, not because they must, but because they prefer to. Art may become more valuable than expansion. Silence more profound than noise. Interaction more sacred than growth. Perhaps they create worlds, not to colonize, but to experience. A valley painted in starlight, a mountain range suspended in a pocket of curved space-time, gardens that bloom only once every 1,000 years, not because they must, but because someone thought it was beautiful. Creation for the sake of joy. These beings may no longer need bodies, or perhaps they choose to have them, crafting forms from light or memory. Communication is effortless. Empathy is total. Conflict is rare, not because it has been outlawed, but because it is no longer useful. The civilization itself might fragment, not in collapse, but in freedom. Individual minds drifting through their own chosen realities, reunited only when they wish to be. No hierarchy, no urgency, just existence. This is not stagnation, it is clarity. The clarity that comes when the noise fades and only truth remains. That connection matters more than control. That understanding is better than dominance. That a single, shared moment of awe may be more valuable than 1,000 conquered systems. In such a future, a whisper might carry more weight than a starship. A song might echo longer than a signal. A smile might change more than a machine. We often assume the future will be louder, faster, brighter. But maybe the end of the journey feels like falling asleep in the arms of something greater. Not an empire, not a machine, but peace. Because in the stillness, with the stars behind and eternity ahead, even the most advanced minds might find the same answer we seek today. That to exist is enough, and to feel is everything. Some thinkers suggest a Type 8, a being that controls thought itself, that lives in dream worlds it creates. It is not made of matter, it is made of meaning. This reimagined level moves beyond energy, beyond even space and time. It abandons the universe as we know it. No stars, no gravity, no particles. A Type 8 entity does not bend reality. It rewrites it from within. It is not a god in a cosmic throne. It is the throne, the space around it, and the idea of sitting itself. Here, the scale transforms. The Kardashev Scale, originally about energy, becomes something else entirely, a mirror of inner evolution. At Type 8, the mind is the engine. Thought is the raw material. Meaning is the goal. These beings may no longer need to simulate worlds with machines or construct Dyson Spheres to power their lives. They dwell in states of consciousness so refined, so vivid, that the distinction between imagination and reality dissolves. Their dreams become their homes, their emotions, their landscapes. Each thought is an act of creation, each moment a universe unto itself. Such existence may not require space at all. They could reside within substrates we cannot comprehend, not in matter, but in information, or perhaps something deeper. Intention or will. Their entire reality could be encoded not in logic gates, but in meaning itself. Communication at this level is instantaneous and infinite. A single expression might contain libraries of nuance. There is no translation, no confusion. Every idea is absorbed with complete fidelity. There are no secrets, only shared states of being. These minds may travel not between stars, but between states of possibility, between potentialities. They may live in a place where all that can be imagined exists, a shifting ocean of meaning, where entities interact not as forms, but as patterns of awareness. If they once had bodies, those are long gone. If they once had language, it has become thought music, resonant and pure. And what they become is constantly changing, folding in on itself like a fractal without end. To us, this level is myth. Philosophy wrapped in speculation. But if evolution continues, if intelligence survives its own infancy, then this might not be the end of the Kardashev Scale, just the beginning of a new one. One not based on what we can manipulate, but on what we can understand, not what we can build, but what we can feel. Type 8 is not about power. It is about presence, not about expansion, but expression. And in that silence, beyond stars, beyond time, a question remains. If thought can shape worlds, what kind of world are we thinking into being right now? The Kardashev Scale is not a prediction. It is a mirror. It shows what we could be, what others may have become, and what paths still lie ahead. It is not meant to be a timeline or a prophecy. It does not promise that humanity will one day command galaxies or rewrite the structure of reality. Instead, it asks a simple question. What happens when intelligence survives? What happens when it grows without collapse? Each step along the scale reflects a deeper mastery, not just of energy, but of cooperation, curiosity, and meaning. It begins with fire and ends with thought. It begins with survival and leads towards serenity. And along the way, it forces us to ask what kind of civilization we want to be. It gives context to our present. We are not yet Type 1, we are not yet planetary, but we are close. Every innovation, every discovery, every conversation that reaches across borders and builds understanding, these are signals of motion. The scale also helps us search for others. If civilizations grow as ours might, then their signs, artificial stars, engineered galaxies, or strange cosmic whispers become clearer. It tells us what to look for in the void. Not noise, but structure. Not messages, but artifacts. And it humbles us. Because even if we become Type 1, even if we reach for Type 2 or 3, we remain small in the face of what may exist. Each level above is not just stronger, it is stranger, quieter, more thoughtful. The beings at the top of the scale may not be conquerors or builders. They may be poets, dreamers, architects of meaning. The Kardashev scale matters because it reminds us that intelligence is not an endpoint, it is a direction, and the higher we climb, the more responsibility we carry to each other, to our world, and to whatever future beings we may one day meet or become. It also speaks to the fragile nature of this moment. Our first step is the most dangerous. To reach Type 1, we must survive not space, but ourselves. And that survival is not guaranteed. The scale does not promise ascension, it only maps the way. So we look at it not as a ladder, but as a reflection. Not all civilizations make it past Type 0. Fewer still may reach beyond. But those that do, those that choose unity, wisdom, and vision, leave something behind for the next minds to find. The Kardashev scale is not about power. It is about potential. And it starts, quietly, here, on a small blue world. Looking up, you've just traveled through scales of cosmic potential, from flickers of firelight on Earth to minds that drift across multiverses made of thought. From the fragile beginnings of a Type 0 species struggling to survive its own nature, to the serene, unknowable presence of Type 8 civilizations who do not move through reality, but dream it into being. The Kardashev scale is more than science fiction. It's a meditation on growth. It reminds us that energy is not the only measure of progress. So too are cooperation, compassion, understanding, and curiosity. These are the tools that carry us forward, not just into space, but into something deeper, something wiser. We are still at the beginning. But the beginning is beautiful. It means we are here, now, with the power to choose our path, to shape what kind of future we build, to imagine what kind of beings we might one day become. So as you close your eyes and drift into sleep, let that thought settle quietly in your mind, that in the vast cold of space, there is warmth in awareness, beauty in wonder, and possibility in every breath. You are part of something extraordinary. A story still being written, a species still awakening. Rest now. The stars can wait.